Hey guys, so today we're going to do the unboxing and overview of the Opus #2 digital audio player, or DAP. This is by a small Korean company called theBit, which is no longer in business, unfortunately. So this came out originally in 2016, so yes, it is an older player. It is #2 because it is their second player that they made. Makes sense, right? They came out with Opus #1 first, then they have Opus #2, and then they have #3, and I think 1S as well, which is kind of a revised version of their first one, and that was it. I don't think they made any other digital audio players, which makes them kind of hard and rare to find because they were not really that popular. Unfortunately, their main competitors were like Astell and Kern, Cowon as well. Those are in Korean space. They're competing against those players, but then once the Chinese players came out, like Cowon and Hibi or Hibi, Shanling, Fio, right? I don't think that they can compete well against them, unfortunately. So you no longer see any Opus players, and they're kind of hard to come by, especially #2 and #3. So yeah, I finally came across this #2 player, which was their flagship back in 2016. Originally retailed for $1,300 US. I got it online, this one, secondhand, for $400. And give you guys the rundown of the specs here. So it has a 4-inch IPS touchscreen, 480 by 800. That's fine for a music player. 128 gigabytes of internal storage. Micro SD, of course, is there as well. And you get dual ES9018 K2M DACs, which was the flagship ESS Saber DACs back then. And it runs OS Android 5.1, which was the version of Android that a lot of music players were running back then. It's not like even new Android back then, but a lot of DAPs back then, including the Pioneer XTP DAPs, which I had before, and the Onkyo DX DAP, ran Android 5. Anyways, that's fine. Let's take a look at this. You guys can see the specs on the back of here as well. So yeah, Opus #2, 4-inch. This has TFT touch display, which is interesting because on Google it says it's IPS. But here it says it's TFT. Well, that's not quite as good. ARM Cortex-A9, 1.4, 1 gig of RAM. And those are the formats it supports, of course. Okay, yeah. So, and then it tells you about the audio performance as well. ES9018, K2M. Yeah, 150 steps of volume. Okay, that's similar to Astell and Kern, which also has 150 stops. Right. Let's take a look. We'll take a look at the operating system too, because it's a custom skin, I believe, even though it's running Android. Okay, so $1,300 was a lot back then. Nowadays you see lots of higher-end DAPs, but $1,300 was pretty flagship, pretty summit fi back in 2016, I would say. Okay, so this is what the player looks like. It's pretty, feels pretty nice in the hand. Very well built as well. It's #2. Is there anything else? Let's see. Okay. So, oh, it's this way. Okay, so Opus #2, leather case. And nothing else here. There should be like a USB cable, I think, originally, but it's fine. This one actually still does come with it. Okay. Yep, micro USB, because this is 2016, right? You gotta remember, USB-C was kind of new back then. Pretty new back in 2016, so not every device had USB-C. Okay, and let's see what leather case it comes with. I'm curious. Okay. Oh shoot. I don't want to. Okay, there we go. Okay. Yeah, here's the leather case. Overall, it's pretty decent leather case, I guess. Made in Korea, so this is this leather case is made in Korea. Nowadays, if you buy like a premium Astell and Kern device, they don't come with leather cases, but like my SP3000M, if you buy like the flagship Astell and Kern devices, they might come with an Italian leather case. But that's, you know, that's like a $3,000 device. So yeah, another level. So this was their former website. They even put their website on the back of this leather case, which I'm not sure they should have done, but audioopus.com, made in Korea. I'm okay with the made in Korea, but I don't know about putting your website on the back of a leather case, dude. It kind of messes it up. But overall, it's okay. Quality. Let's take a look at the DAP. Okay, so overall, this is a bit of a wider DAP for me. So feels like I do have to like. I mean, it's fine because, you know, smartphones are like this, but I'm just used to more narrow DAPs. But overall, weight is good, not too heavy, but definitely still feels premium. This is all like nice aluminum finish, so it's pretty premium looking. There's Opus #2 in the back, made in Korea. Of course, this being a Korean company, and same as Cowon and Astell and Kern, right? They're all made in Korea. So you do have the volume dial on the right side here, and it's very nice and clicky. It has guards here, so you don't accidentally damage it or accidentally hit it while it's in your pocket. That's a very nice feature that today's DAPs actually don't even really have anymore. But if you see some older DAPs, they actually tend to have these yeah, volume dial guards, which is pretty nice. So yeah, overall pretty nice and clicky. I like that. Nice clicky volume wheel. On top you have 2.5 millimeter balanced, which was kind of a standard back then. Nowadays 4.4 millimeter balanced is the standard, but back in the day, especially for Korean DAPs, because Aston Kern was pushing it, 2.5 millimeter balanced was kind of common to see. Headphone jack, 3.5 millimeter, of course, you have your normal one, and the power button. On bottom you have micro USB, because it was 2016, and micro SD card slot. And then on the left side, you have your previous track, your next track, and your play pause. So yeah, overall, it's very nicely done. I think it actually looks like an Aston Kern device from back then, like an older Aston Kern device, to be honest, because it does have that square shape, really nice build quality, right? Some this aluminum case and everything feels really premium in the hand. Yeah, 2.5, 3.5. Honestly, it looks and feels really good. It does feel like an older Aston Kern device from back in the day, like a flagship device, which is nice. You know, that's a compliment. You know, Aston Kern made some of the nicest devices back then, still do, in terms of build quality and design. So that's always a compliment to Opus and theBit. I don't know if I should call it theBit, but if you're talking about the DAPs, I think people often refer to them as just Opus. I guess these buttons are a little bit small. They could be made like a little bit bigger. Like Sony Walkman does have it a little bit too big maybe, but somewhere in between. These do feel a little bit small. So that might be my only criticism. Okay, let's power it on. And yeah, this runs a custom version of Android, like it's heavily skinned. So even though it's running on Android, I don't think that you can just install any apps that you want onto it, or maybe you can. I heard that you can sideload your apps onto it, but you can't just go into the Play Store and do it, I don't think. Yeah, so it's kind of like the older Aston Kern players as well. So Aston Kern just recently made their players a little bit more opened up, but yeah, it's like heavily skinned Android essentially, just like this. So yeah, this is what the music player looks like. Pretty standard, basic, functional. So you can play or pause right here. And it's a pretty nice looking music player actually. You can seek, right, like that. You tap on it to see a little bit more about the track, file information, composer, lyrics, which I don't have any right now. Yeah, you can also tap to favorite it by doing that, or you can add it to a playlist or make a new playlist. So, yep, also standard features. You can go to the previous track or next track, of course. I just have a playlist going right now. And if you swipe down from the top, now this is, yeah, older Android, but you guys all have your functionality right here, right? You can have your brightness, control that. Wi-Fi, which I think might be just for updates. I don't think you can actually download apps onto here like that. Bluetooth, which it looks like it's just 4.0. Which is fine. I guess it's 2016. You got to remember this is an old music player. So yeah, Bluetooth 4. It does not support LDAC and aptX, I don't think. Again, it's an older music player. Line out. Yeah, you can change it to line out mode, which I think will be the 3.5, right, for line out. Equalizer, you can turn on and off. You can put the sleep on, have it automatically turn off. Repeat, you can repeat the track and change those settings as well. Shuffle, you can turn that on and off. Gain control, so you can change left and right balance. Yeah, this is something standard that you can do in most music players. DSP mode, this is interesting. 32-bit XMOS, 24-bit I2S. Okay, I guess I'll leave it auto there. Not too sure about that one. Gain control middle, so yeah, you have low to high gain. Now I'm not exactly sure how much output power milliwatts this has. It looks like it has 2.3 VRMS. I'm not sure how much that is in milliwatts. I mean, Aston Kern does that too. It tells you in VRMS, which I don't know how much that actually is in milliwatts. But I'm assuming it has enough to drive most full-size headphones, and of course almost every IEM as well. IEMs are usually pretty easy to drive, and then full-size headphones, most on the market should be okay, except if you have like a very high impedance 600 ohm Beyerdynamic or something like that. Yeah, most of the headphones on the market, you know, I wouldn't trust it to drive like a very high-end Hi-Fi Man or Sennheiser HD800 or something. But yeah, most high-end headphones, I mean, most full-size headphones should be fine. Okay. And if you go here, basically this is it. It's a heavily skinned version of Android, just like with the Astone Kern players. So yeah, basically you just have this. You have it's not an open version of Android. Essentially, you can sideload apps, I believe, onto it, but not like it's not like a regular version of Android. So you have your songs here, like all your songs. You can do albums, right? By each album, artists, go by artists and genres. And folders, favorites, playlists. Yeah, so you have all your basic navigations here, and it's pretty fast and responsive. And if you're going to go with a custom version of anything, right, custom OS, custom version of Android, if you're going to do that for anything, which is kind of a drawback for most people, right? Because you just install any app that you want easily onto here. I'd expect the trade-off to be okay, but at least you get faster, more responsive running time. Like, yeah, the interface should be more smoother as a result, because you are, you know, making it more optimized and stuff, and taking some of the fluff out of the operating system. And this is yeah, exactly what I expect. Very, very responsive operating system. I mean, it's a custom version of Android. You're taking out most of the fluff and just making a music player just dedicated to pure music. Yeah, this is pretty good. It's very, very responsive. I like this operating system. Again, if you're going to be using Tidal or Spotify, that's not going to work here. I think you might be able to sideload it though on this thing. But again, it's going to take a little bit of work to add those extra apps on here. You can sideload them, I believe. Yeah, just off the bat, I think this is more, you can use it more as an offline music player, I would say, is the main purpose of this device. And pretty fast and responsive. I would assume the battery life to be pretty good as well, because it's got a custom operating system without a lot of the fluff that you don't need. Yeah, so that's the volume control. It goes up to 150 steps, just like Astone Kern devices do, right? Yeah, and this will even go red to tell you, hey, you're going a little bit too high, you know? Protect your ears. That's pretty cool. And it's just this little simple interface here with this little line. That's interesting. But yeah, it's very nice, comfortable, easy to use volume dial right here. Very responsive. I like that. That's pretty much it for the operating system. I mean, it's pretty simple, easy to use. You can switch between microSD and internal storage just like that. Very fast and responsive. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And let's see, Wi-Fi, you can turn on. Yeah, let's see if we can access the rest of the settings here. Yeah. So this is your standard Android settings menu, right? Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, streaming. Okay, so you can actually add streaming apps. Okay, my bad. So yeah, I guess you can just put Tidal and Spotify, whatever, on here if you add this plus. Okay, so this is where you can kind of sideload your apps easily if you need streaming apps. So that's good, actually. So it's not like a completely offline player. So yeah. So you have Wi-Fi, and then you can add your own streaming apps here as well. But this is done in the same style as Astone Kern, which means that it's kind of like you're side loading apps onto here, and it's a heavily skinned version of Android. You don't just have access to the Google Play Store is what I mean. So it's not like a Shanling or a Fio or Cowon or Hibi or Hibi. It's not like those devices where you can just like go to the Google Play Store and add something, right? No. So with the newer Astone Kern stuff like the SP4K, and then with the Opus, you basically have to side load the app. But hey, at least you can have access to your streaming apps, right? So Tidal and Spotify, Apple Music, Qobuz, Deezer, whatever you use, you can just add it through here. So that's nice. You can actually do streaming. So yeah, not just that offline music playing. You can change the screen. That's just brightness. Audio has equalizer. So let's see, we can take a look at the EQ here. Yeah, so this is what the EQ is like, 31 all the way up to 16. So you got your standard 10-band EQ here that you can adjust. It's fairly basic, I would say. It's not parametric or anything, but that's fine. I mean, unless you're looking for parametric EQ, this should be enough to satisfy most people. Gapless playback. Output, yeah, we saw that already. Timer, which is just sleep time. USB, you can connect it as USB DAC or to transfer files. That's pretty standard for a music player. Change the language, date, storage size. So you have 128 gigabytes built in. Support for microSD, obviously. Initialize and update. And then you can do over-the-air updates with this. Yeah, so that's it. Let's see, Opus number 2. Overall, I do like the operating system. In fact, I like it better than Cowon's operating system. I think Cowon's is also pretty fast and responsive, but I don't think it'll let you install any streaming apps. So Cowon's is like a pure offline music player and operating system. At least with Opus, you can install streaming apps. It's not as easy as just going to the Google Play Store, but you can at least still kind of sideload them onto here. So that's good. And the interface is very responsive and smooth. So no issues there. Yeah, overall, very nice operating system, I think. Very nice, easy to use. And as far as a pure music player with also access to streaming apps if needed, it's fine, you know. It's not exactly full Android, but you can still download your streaming apps onto it. So that's nice. It still supports that. So it's got pretty much all the functionality you would need or want out of a music player. So yeah, well, pretty good. I think I like it better than Aston Kern's interface, to be honest, as well. I don't think Aston Kern's, at least the ones I used, the SR15, the SC100, SC300, none of those were as fast and responsive. In fact, even the SP3000M, which is a flagship that they came out with last year, even that operating system, it's faster, but still not as fast as this. This is still faster. I mean, this is just, yeah, just switching between this is blazing, right? It's really, really fast. So, yeah, this operating system is, I like it better than Aston Kern and Cowon, the other two Korean DAP makers. I think Opus has the best operating system out of them all, in my opinion. Although, I have to note that, where's the searching functionality? Yeah, maybe you don't have the searching functionality. That could be an issue. Yeah, if there's no search, then, yeah, that's not as good. But still, in terms of operating system simplicity and responsiveness, I do like the Opus operating system. Yeah, it doesn't seem to have a search, which is unfortunate. But that might be the only knock I have against this. Yeah, other than that, pretty nice UI. Okay, so after having listened to some songs on the Opus number 2, I've been comparing it to some of my other DAPs. The comparisons I'm going to make are to the Cowon Plenue D3 that I have, which I think makes sense because this is also a fellow Korean DAP maker. And the Cowon Plenue, maybe not this model, but Cowon Plenue was definitely one of the competitors to the Opus number 2. Now, I don't have an Aston Kern DAP with me right now, but I think the AK SC100 would be a good comparison to the Opus number 2 as well. I think roughly it's fairly comparable to that. And another one I want to compare it to is the Sony WM1A, which retailed for around $1,200 in 2017. So roughly the same time period as the Opus 3. So this would have been a competitor as well. So yeah, I'm just going to compare it to these two. So in terms of the sound quality, I think the Opus number 2 is very, very good. It has ES9018K2M, and it's a really good implementation. So I know this may be a generalization, but I tend to think of ES Sabre DACs as kind of being on the reference neutral leading side in general, and that's the way that Opus number 2 has implemented it with a lot of detail and everything. It doesn't sound harsh or anything though. Some people think that ES Sabre DACs sound harsh. It doesn't. Just sounds very neutral and reference leaning. So that's what I get when I listen to the Opus number 2. Is I feel like this player is really good detail, leaning on the reference neutral side. So it's not like overly warm or anything, but it's not like too analytical either, which I feel like some Aston Kern players are a little bit too much on the analytical side. So AK players or Aston Kern players, I feel like they also like the SC100 I think would be the best comparison because it has a ES9038 Pro in it, and I've also owned it before. That one is also neutral, but more so on the analytical side. But I feel like the Opus number 2 is also neutral, but not so much analytical. If you guys know what I mean, my low tube hoggle touch is like this as well. Like they're neutral-ish, but without being analytical. Still sounds pretty musical to me. So overall, it's a pretty nice implementation. Yeah, I can hear like the note separation, the dynamics, and everything very well with this one. Comparing it to the Sony WM1A, I feel like the Sony player is a little bit more warmer and musical, but not quite as detailed or as well defined. I don't feel like the notes in the songs are as well defined as on the Opus 2. Of course, Sony has their own proprietary DAC, the S Master HX, but I feel like the Sonys, they're not quite as resolving. Like the notes don't resolve quite as well as on the Opus number 2, although it is warm and musical sounding. That's how Sony DAPs usually are, although the WM1A actually leans a little bit more reference neutral compared to the WM1Z. But yeah, overall, I feel like the Sony DAP, the Walkman WM1A, it leans a little bit more on the musical, warm, engaging side, but the notes don't resolve quite as well as on the Opus number 2. I feel like the Opus number 2, a little bit more detailed, better resolution, note separation is a little bit better. I can hear more notes in the background. So I think Opus number 2 is technically slightly superior to the WM1A. It's not like a huge difference, but I feel like it is the technically superior DAP. So if you're just listening in terms of sound quality, just know that WM1A, a little bit more warmer, a little bit more engaging feeling, but not quite as much in terms of the note resolution isn't quite as good. I guess you can think of it as like, hey, this one is a little bit more towards the vinyl warmth side, not quite as much, but you know how vinyl, the notes aren't quite as resolving as on a CD, but it does sound more warmer and musical. The Opus number 2 sounds more like a CD. You know, technically it sounds a bit better, dynamic range is better, etc. Might not sound quite as warm or engaging as the Sony WM1A though. But I think if you're looking for a nice detailed reference neutral DAP, the Opus number 2 is pretty good in that aspect. So yeah, build quality between these two are pretty much, I would say, almost equal, because the WM1A this is a really nicely built DAP as well. Yeah, so Sony did not cut any corners with this one. This one has like nice brushed aluminum or anything. It's like nice pebbled leather back and everything, brushed aluminum finish. It's a really, really solid feeling brick. And Opus number 2 as well. It just feels like a really nice aluminum finish here, and very much equal to the Astel and Kern DAPs as well. If you guys ever had an 8K DAP, you can tell that very, very nicely built. Yeah, very, very solid here. It just feels like a brick, and I mean that in a good way. You know, it's very, very durable. Dials really clicky, easy to use. Yeah. And this is a preference thing, you know, some people prefer the dials. I prefer the dials, actually. Sony does not use dials. Sony just uses buttons for the volume. UI-wise is another good comparison. I think that they're pretty good, both of them, although neither of them has a search feature. So WM1A does not have a search feature either. You just have to like kind of scroll to the song that you want like this, but it's still very responsive. And same thing on the Opus 2. It's very responsive. You have to kind of scroll to the song that you want. No searching on this one either. But because the operating system is so responsive, it's not too bad. Yeah, so yeah, difference Opus, you basically have to go to album, artists, genres, folders, whatever like this. The Walkman, you can just do it all from here, from this main home screen. It does have a home screen, whereas the Opus does not have a home screen per se. So overall, I would say the UI-wise is pretty much equal. Like, yeah, both of these UIs are very, very fast, very responsive. Yeah, so Sony has a really nice looking UI as well. If you go to the music player here, you just see like a visualizer here. Actually, you do not see the album cover on this one. Opus, of course, you do. And yeah, I think that, yeah, UI-wise, they're both pretty good, although the Opus 2, you do see the album art. The WM1A, you do not. Neither of them have a search functionality, but the operating system is responsive enough to where you can just kind of scroll to the song that you want. And unless you truly have a lot of songs, I think it's generally okay because the operating system is so responsive. If it wasn't so responsive, then not having a search would definitely be more of a bummer. But yeah, I think both of them are pretty good when it comes to that. Yeah, so UI, I would say both on the same level. Build quality, both on the same level as well. You can see they're both kind of roughly same thickness. Maybe the Sony's like a little bit thicker by maybe like a millimeter or so. Really kind of similar there. They're both built like really, really well though. Yeah, I think either way, you're getting like really nicely built DAPs here. In terms of power, I think about the same as well, honestly. This one, I mean, Sony doesn't really publish their power specs either. So Opus, I don't know the VRMS stuff, but both of them can drive your IEMs and headphones, full-size headphones, relatively well. I think they're not like the most powerful DAPs on the market or anything, but you know, for generally most IEMs and full-size headphones should be fine. Price level, yeah, it's about the same. I think they both retail for around the same price back then, 2016, 2017. And Opus 3 actually came out, I think, in 2017 as well, the successor. But the Opus 2, yeah, still holds out really well, I think. Sound quality wise, I would say, yeah, if you want the warmth, a little bit more engaging type of sound, then I think the Sony Walkman WM1A is good. But if you're looking for more detail, resolution, neutral reference sounding, then the Opus number 2 is the way to go here. So anyways, I think they're both really good. Yeah, pretty comparable. I would say if you just want sound quality, the Opus number 2 may be a bit higher in terms of detail though. So yeah, and this one has 2.5 balanced output, which you need an adapter for modern IEMs because they're usually 4.4. The Sony does not need an adapter because they've always had 4.4 since the beginning. Sony was the one who popularized the 4.4 Pentacon connection. So yeah, there is that as well. There's also the fact that the Sony WM1A, you cannot stream, so you don't have any kind of streaming capabilities with this one. The later ones do, like the later like ZX507 that I reviewed before, that's like full Android. Of course, those allow you to download streaming apps, but the WM1A does not allow you to download any streaming apps. That's a kind of closed Sony operating system, whereas the Opus 2, at least you can sideload them, so that's pretty nice. So yeah, if you're a streamer, then definitely go with the Opus number 2. Okay, so that's compared to the Sony. What about the Cowon Plenue D3? I know it's not exactly a good comparison. The D3 is like, this is a smaller DAP. Whoops. This is a really fast boot up at least. Okay, this is a much smaller DAP that retailed for a lot lower. This thing retailed for, I think, $400 US. So it's not exactly apples to apples comparison. I think the Cowon Plenue S would probably be a better comparison, but I don't have that one right now. But in terms of just sound quality, honestly, if I don't have jet effect on, and Cowon jet effect is like this DSP setting where you can choose basically a lot of these DSP settings that kind of modify the sound a bit, and this is really effective. You know, I've never heard any other music player or a DAP that has this kind of DSP that affects the sound so well and does it so naturally without feeling artificial. So if you choose to turn the jet effect off, which is kind of a waste in my opinion, but let's say you choose just to not use jet effect, let's just put that to the side of it, then I would say the sound quality, and this has two CS43131 DACs in it, I think, Cirrus Logic. I think this is actually comparable to the Sony WM1A in terms of the detail resolution, although I still think the Sony sounds a little bit more warmer and musical. But the Cowon sounds pretty good as well. I would say, yeah, still like roughly on par, I would say, which is pretty impressive for the Cowon. But when you turn jet effect on, like I personally like to use BBE, Viva 2, or MP, it really increases like vocal texture. If you turn on Mach 3 bass, it'll increase the bass texture. So all these do different things, but if you use one of the jet effects, honestly, it just turns your IEMs and headphones into another level. Like, you can increase the bass texture, increase the vocal texture, increase the soundstage. It's actually incredible what it does. And then if you do that, it actually goes ahead of the Opus number 2. So yeah, if I don't use jet effect, it's not quite as good as the Opus number 2, but if I do use jet effect, then it will actually go ahead of the Opus number 2. So with Cowon Plenues, we really had to be like judging it, rating it based on whether we're using jet effect or not, because jet effect makes such a big difference in Cowon Plenue DAPs. It's really their killer feature. Like a lot of the reason why people go and buy old Plenue DAPs, and Cowon doesn't really make DAPs anymore either, but a lot of people go buy old Plenue DAPs and they have kind of a cult following, and it's because of jet effect. It's just so good, you know? So if you don't use jet effect, yes, it's not quite as good as the Opus number 2. It's maybe around the same level as the WM1A, which is still pretty impressive in my opinion. But if you turn on jet effect, then the extra DSP stuff, then it actually goes ahead of the Opus 2 in terms of sound quality. Now let's look at the UI. The UI in Cowon is actually almost similar to Opus number 2 in the way that you browse stuff. So yeah, you can go to like folders, right, and go to folders here, you can go to folders like this, favorites, you can go to favorites like this, all songs, go like this is all songs, and artists, right? Yeah, this is artists, this is artists. So the way that you navigate folders is similar. The Cowon does have a search feature though, so if you go here and search, but it's kind of like a gimped search. So like you got to turn it over like landscape, and then you got to search for the artist. So if I want to search for Ariana Grande, I just go like this, search Ariana Grande, and then okay, that's Ariana Grande. So the search is there. It's not like a great search, but yeah, it's there. It exists, but it's not like a great way to search or anything. You always had to like go here, search, and then you got to type it in, you know, landscape mode, and then search. Like, yeah, definitely not quite as it's not quite of a smooth search. A little bit of friction there. UI is reasonably responsive, but not quite as much as on the Opus. I would say overall, the Opus is still like it's more responsive. Like you see this, there's no lag whatsoever, right, when I'm searching files. Whereas on the Cowon, you can see there is a little bit of lag here. So definitely the Cowon UI is responsive enough, but is not quite as responsive as the Opus. The Opus does have the faster, more responsive UI. Music player wise, I mean, let's take a look. Opus has a bigger screen, so yeah, I say the Opus is still a little bit better here because it is a little bit confusing. I mean, Cowon Plenue is definitely interface. You got to get used to it. It's not easy to use at the beginning. You kind of get to there's a learning curve basically to the Cowon, but you can do a lot of cool stuff with it. You can change the play speed. You can actually do this A/B setting where you can like choose a part of the song to repeat. So that's really cool. You can change the skin of the player. Like you can change it to this. That's something that you can't really do with many of these players actually. So yeah, you can change the skin of the player. So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with the Cowon Plenue music player, but I still actually prefer the Opus. I think the Opus is just really nice, simple, easy to use. So in terms of the UI, I think both the Sony and the Opus I'll put a little bit over the Cowon. I think these two are both good. Sony UI is one of the best I've seen in proprietary operating system that's not Android. Same thing with the Opus. So I think, in my opinion, Walkman UI and Opus UI is two of the best non-Android operating systems that I've seen in a DAP. So yeah, both of these are really, really good. And the Cowon, because it does have a learning curve, it comes after that. So these two are both really good. And then Cowon comes after. But in terms of sound quality, I would have to go like this. Plenue, if you use jet effect, would go on top. Actually, the jet effect is just so overpowered. Then Opus number 2 after that, and then WM1A a bit after that in terms of actual sound quality, in my opinion. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. And if you want to talk about like other stuff, portability, features, functions, the Cowon also does not have any streaming apps. The Sony does not have any streaming apps, or the WM1A I should say. Later Walkmans do, but the Cowon Plenues do not have streaming apps, and WM1A does not. The Opus 2 you can sideload them, so the Opus does have an advantage in streaming functionality there. Both of these use 2.5 connections, so the Plenue 3 has a 2.5, Opus has 2.5, Sony has a 4.4, so that's a little bit more convenient. You have to use an adapter if you want to connect your modern IEMs and balanced headphones to them. A little bit of an annoying factor, but yeah, it's okay. This one, obviously, it's not built quite as well because, well, this is just a lower priced Cowon. I know the better comparison is Cowon Plenue S or Plenue L, which is their flagship at the time. I don't have those right now, but the 3 definitely isn't built quite as well as these two. The W1A and Opus 2 are just these are really nice aluminum bricks, basically. Pretty nicely built, and the Plenue just isn't quite as nice feeling in the hand. And you can see the dial here, it's okay. I mean, the Plenue dial is okay, but it's not the same level of quality as the Cowon dial. I mean, sorry, Opus dial. Yeah, the Opus dial it's very solid, feels very nice to use, very clicky. Yeah, you guys can see that when I move the dial too fast, it kind of like wobbles a bit. See? kind of wobbles a bit, right? So yeah, the quality of the dial on the Cowon Plenue D3 isn't quite as good as on the Opus 2. Yeah, the Opus 2 dial is just very, very solid, nice clicky feeling. So the dial is definitely better on the Opus 2. But yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of comparison, UI, features, and sound quality. If you just care about sound quality, very little, in my opinion, would beat the Plenue when it comes to sound quality because of the jet effect. It's just so powerful. But I know there's purists out there who are like, no, we don't want to use EQ or DSP and stuff. Then if you don't want to count jet effect, then yes, Opus number 2 would go first in terms of sound quality, a little bit over the WM1A in the Plenue D3. Streaming wise, app support, Opus number 2, because it's going to actually sideload them. These two cannot. In terms of just overall feeling, build quality, and everything, I think the Opus number 2 actually I would take over these two. And just everything is not much to complain about. The UI is very, very responsive. I mean, the only thing is, hey, you don't have a search, but it's okay because the UI is fast enough where you can kind of just scroll down to the song that you want. So that's the only thing, if I really had a gripe with this, is like, okay, I wish it had a search functionality. But yeah, Sony does not either, but it's also pretty responsive. The Cowon does have a search functionality, but it's has a little bit of friction to use. So yeah, that's it. My view on the three players. I think overall I would probably say it really depends on what you're looking for. I think the Plenue is actually really, really good for the price. This thing's like $400. So yeah, you got to keep in mind this is not the same price as these two. But yeah, anyways, kind of wanted to compare them all. I do think that sound quality wise, the Cowon Plenue D3 does keep up with these two though, despite the fact that it's cheaper and smaller. Battery life, I think that both Opus and Plenue, I heard that Plenue can actually get really good battery life. Like this one, I really haven't seen this one even go down very much. Like the Plenue's battery life is actually really, really impressive, especially given the size. The Walkman, on the other hand, it's already kind of going down. Also, one thing that really hurts Sony is the fact that WM1A has a proprietary connector. Yes, I know they changed it on their later versions of the Walkman to USB-C, which they should, but keep in mind WM1A does have a proprietary connector, which is definitely, that's a negative point in in the Sony's favor. Of course, the Opus has micro USB. The D3 being a kind of like a newer DAP, this one does have USB-C. But the Sony with the proprietary connector, that's definitely not a good point. That's like a negative point in favor of that. But anyways, that's it, guys. Again, I don't have an Aston current player to compare, but I think the closest one is the SC100. And as I remember, it's been a while since I owned it, but I remember the SC100 with the ES9038 Pro, technically a better DAC than the ES9018. But in terms of implementation, I wouldn't say the sound quality is much different. Like Aston Current's implementation of like pretty much all their DACs, but ES9038 Pro in particular, very neutral and analytical sounding. So Opus number 2 also kind of on the neutral reference side, not quite as analytical as on the Aston Current SC100 though. So if you asked me, okay, something a little bit more musical sounding, I would pick the Opus over the AKSE100. But for people who just want to have, I want to have the absolute like reference sound that just lets the song feel like the way that the artist intended without any kind of coloration whatsoever, then the SC100 is really good. But if you want to have a nice like little bit of coloration to make it feel a little bit more fun and engaging and musical, yes, the Sony WM1A is the best at that. But the Opus number 2, if you still want to lean a little bit more neutral, because the Sony is a bit more warmer. So this one has a little bit more coloration, because Sony DAPs generally have more coloration. But if you're looking for something, still like a little bit reference, but also engaging, then Opus number 2 is good. Also the low Toggle touch, if you guys are aware of that one too, is also kind of like that. Reference, but still got a little bit of musicality going on. I just feel Aston current players are just a little bit too analytical for me. They don't have any kind of coloration, which is a little bit boring, in my opinion. In the D3 as well, I would say that this one is kind of leaning a little bit more in between these two, like in terms of the musicality. So it's probably like right in between, like not quite as musical as the Sony, but like a little bit more than the Opus number 2, and that's just how Cirrus Logic DACs are. I find like ESS Saber DACs a little bit, yeah, generally leaning very neutral. Cirrus Logic, a little bit more coloration, musical sounding, and then Sony's whatever S Master HX implementation is generally adding a lot of warmth and musicality. And if you add go another step further, you can go to the AKM DACs, right? Which AKM actually advertises those DACs as the Velvet Sound technology. So those are actually even more colored, probably on par with the Sony. So generally speaking, I know it's a big generalization because DACs are all implemented differently. But if I were to say yes, ESS Saber DACs generally lean neutral reference. Cirrus Logic DACs, a little bit more coloration than ESS Saber DACs, and then AKM DACs, a little bit warmer and more coloration than even CS DACs, then on par with probably Sony DACs in that aspect. So that's it, guys. Stay tuned for the sound comparison test. I'm going to play the same song in each of these. Also, I'll add the Aston Kern SE100 sound test that I did before, back in the day, to this comparison as well. So let me know what you guys think. But overall, I think the BIT Opus number 2 is pretty impressive. If I had this back in the day, I would just, this will be on me all the time. Like, yeah, honestly, it's a really nice player. Not much to complain about. The UI is very fast, it's very smooth, and sound quality is very good. Leaning neutral reference. Yeah, buttons, the dial, yeah, all like done very well. Very responsive, really nice build quality. Battery life is pretty decent. I can sideload some streaming apps if I wanted to stream. Built-in storage. Yeah, overall really nice. I just wish that maybe they should have added a search feature onto this. That's the only thing if I were to complain about. Other than that, it's very, very nice. Nothing much to complain about, except I just wish they added a search. But this came out in 2016 and Opus 3 in 2017. I would say overall, some of the best DAPs in that era were the Opus DAPs. And it's unfortunate I only got to find out about this DAP recently. I would have loved to have this back in the day, back in 2016, 2017. I would have loved to have one of these. I think I had a Pioneer XDP-100R back then, which ran Android. So that was good, but definitely the UI wasn't quite as polished as this. And I think I had the same DAC too. I think I had the 9018K2M as well. But in terms of build quality, actually build quality was pretty decent on those, the Pioneer DAPs, but I still think the Opus is another level in terms of like everything UI and build quality and sound quality as well. I just think it's just overall really nicely done. It's too bad that this company's not in business anymore, the BIT. Yeah, it would have been nice, if they kept making DAPs. There we go. Yeah, it's a better looking. Okay, yeah, it would have been nice if the BIT still existed and if they kept making DAPs, because Opus 2, and this is the only one I've heard so far. I know there's Opus 1, 1S, and 3. Yeah, it's just, it's pretty impressive, build quality, UI, sound quality. Not much to complain about. I think it's a really nice DAP, especially for the time. And I think it actually still is still competitive today. I know it doesn't run full Android or anything, but I think it's still competitive today, honestly. Like, the sound quality is still pretty up there. I'm not going to say, like, it's better than my Low-Topog Gold Touch or the Aston Kern SP3000M. I'm not going to say it's quite as good as that, but those are, like, $3,000 DAPs, right? Not quite up to that level, but it's not that far off, actually, to be honest. Like, it's still, like, really, really good. So, anyways, that's it. Yeah, stay tuned for the sound comparison test. Yeah, but this is the Opus number 2 by the Korean DAP company, theBit. Yeah, really wished that they would have kept making DAPs. It's unfortunate that they kind of exited the industry, probably because of more competition from Aston Kern and from Chinese manufacturers like FIO and iBaso and them, Shanling and stuff, which is unfortunate because Opus number 2 is a really good DAP. I really wish I had it back in the day. Yeah, because I think I definitely would have gotten this over the Pioneer XDP-100. Yeah, which is what I ended up going with. But yeah, So guys, stay tuned for the sound comparison test. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.
The sun is setting and you're right here by my side, and the movie is playing, but we won't be watching tonight. Every look, every touch makes me wanna give you my heart. I've been crushing on you, baby. Stay right where you are, 'cause I never knew you could hide moonlight in your hands till the night I held you. The sun is setting and you're right here by my side, and the movie is playing, but we won't be watching tonight. Every look, every touch makes me wanna give you my heart. I've been crushing on you, baby. Stay right where you are, 'cause I never knew you could hide moonlight in your hands till the night I held you. The sun is setting and you're right here by my side, and the movie is playing, but we won't be watching tonight. Every look, every touch makes me wanna give you my heart. I've been crushing on you, baby. Stay right where you are, 'cause I never knew
Got to get you into my life, into my life. Got to get you into my life, into my life. Got to get you into my life, into my life. Got to get you into my life, into my life. I was alone, I took a ride, didn't know what I would find there. Another road where maybe I could see another side there. Ooh, and then I suddenly see you. Ooh, and then I tell you that I need you every single day of my life. Got to get you into my life, into my life. Got to get you into my life, into my life. Got to get you into my life, into my life. Got to get you into my life, into my life. Got to get you into my life, into my life. I was alone, I took a ride, didn't know what I would find there. Another road where maybe I could see another side there. Ooh, and then I suddenly see you. Ooh, and then I tell you that I need you every single day of my life. Got to get you into my life, into my life. Got to get you into my life, into my life. Got to get you into my life, into my life. Got to get you into my life, into my life. Got to get you into my life, into my life. I was alone, I took a ride, didn't know what I would find there. Another road where maybe I could see another side there. Ooh, and then I suddenly see you. Ooh, and then I tell you that I need you every single day of my life. Got to get you into my life, into my life. Got to get you into my life, into my life. burning my life, burning my life. I was alone, I took a ride, didn't know what I would find.